that I was told. That doesn't actually make it so, because everyone is different. We are live. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Instagram. And we're here. We're ready to go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am delighted to be here. I had a massive challenge this morning. I challenged myself to do something I don't normally do. And it was fun. It was fun. Good morning, everyone. I just got to close a few things down. I've got so many Facebook chats open here. We're talking to so many people right now. Lots and lots of people contacting me at the moment, especially about coaching. I'm getting more and more people contacting me about coaching, which is good, but I really don't have the time to do private coaching right now. I have 5 coaching clients that I work with very closely every month, and I work with them for 6 months or a year, working with people. But what I give my clients is exactly what I'm giving you. It's the best of the best. And I don't know about you, but what words would you use to describe this week? What words would you use to describe this week? What comes to mind for you? For me, a number of words. It's been a game changer, a massive wake-up call, actually, just to really start to look at things differently myself from emotions. I actually believe you can't learn these things enough, and our brains can get quite lazy. And we looked at emotional strength a few weeks ago, and this week we've been looking at 5 ways for you to get emotionally stronger. And here he is, Jerry. He's here. He's turned up. He's turned up with a bottle of water as well, which is awesome, because this is a man, he defies, and I'm putting it out there, this man defies what I think is logical. This man trains like you would not believe, but literally drinks the amount of water that would probably be beyond the minimum that any human being would need to drink, even if they didn't train. But I admire him now because he's got his bottle of water in there, and he's showing me something. He is showing me that he wants to get better. How many of you out there want to get better? How many of you want to get out there to be a better version of yourself? How many of you know deep down that there is a superhero basically inside you that just wants to come out, and it wants to be the very, very best that you can be? We love superheroes, right? Everyone does, whether it's an action figure or someone who's not even real, or even heroes in life, whether it be a Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi, people who have been heroes. A superhero, as many people know, is the protector. So I'm going to record this as an audio as well. Here we go. So this is there we go. No, let's try that again. 1 second. There we go. I'm hearing my own voice there. Wow, I sound amazing, because I am amazing, just like you. And that's what we looked at last week. So we go. We are now recording on there as well. So we all love superheroes, but personally, I am a My365 superhero. And when we talk about My365, it's not my 365, it's your 365. As many people know, the M stands for your mindfulness. The M stands for your meaning. What is the meaning that you are giving your life? Who is the mentor in your life? Everyone needs mentors. The I is you. The you that has been brought up, that has been programmed, that's been conditioned by your preachers, your teachers, your parents. It's you doing the very best that you can, but you are damaged goods. We are all damaged. We've all learned things that probably don't serve us. We all have emotions, and that's what we've been looking at this week, emotions and what those emotions do for us. And I believe I personally have learned more this week than anybody else. Guaranteed. I'm the one who's taken more out of this week. I have immersed myself in it. I bet I've taken more notes than you. I bet I've thought I'm going to apply this, because I've got one goal, one mission, which is the big red dot. And that's what everyone has. You have a red dot. It might be a small one. It might be a big one, in terms of what are you here to do? What is the meaning of your life? Once you can identify with this and you can bring it to life, you become a hero. And that's what My 365 is all about. It's your opportunity to become a hero in your own life. And some of you will go beyond being a hero. You will become a superhero. And that's what I invite all of you to do. 2 more weeks of free live broadcasts, and then it changes. You've all got an opportunity to become elite and become a superhero. If you have the dreams, the goals, the desires, come on, I dare you to come on a journey, to come on 365 with me, 365 days as we go on a journey. You think many of you have already been on a journey with me? Yeah, it's been good. A lot of you have achieved great things. But how about we take that to a whole new level? How about if you were to dream so big that if you told people what your dreams were, they'd laugh at you? And say, that's ridiculous. I can't do that. Jerry's got a dream here. And he can tell himself, as I've already said, he's got a great dream. Took up martial arts late in his life and now wants to develop his own school of martial arts. But he could give me 100 excuses as to why he couldn't do that. He's too old. It's not going to work, blah, 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 blah. Not just him. All of us can. We can come up with great ideas. How many of you right now have got a great idea? Or have ever had a great idea? Think, that's a great idea. We come up with great ideas. But then what happens? Emotion comes up. And that's what we've been looking at this week. So it's taken me a few minutes, but why don't we get to review probably one of the most powerful weeks? I believe if this was the only contact that you and I ever had in our lives, just 5 days that I've shared this information with you, that your life would never, ever, ever, ever be the same again. You went to school, I went to school. We learned geography, biology. We learned stuff which isn't particularly useful. We didn't learn how to design our lives from the inside out. We didn't learn how to deal with emotion. What is emotion? Jerry, what is emotion? Give me your full attention. Not just Jerry, all of you. Shut up inside your own head. Go on, I dare you. See if you can do it. Just for a second, that voice that goes on and on and on and on. You know what I'm talking about, right? The voice that just takes you away from being here right now. And then your voice goes back into talking to yourself. It's like this constant dialogue. And this is what we call the duck in our head. Right, Jerry? Here you go. Yeah, the duck in your head that's quacking away all the time. And what is that duck trying to do? Well, that's a really good question. And let's look at that today. Today's going to be a slightly longer broadcast than normal, but that's okay. That's okay. Is everyone here? Everyone happy? Everyone happy? Yep, Jerry's got the duck on his head. Those of you that don't believe me, there you go on Instagram. See, now he's hearing the duck in his head going, oh, God, no. But you on Facebook, you didn't see that. The 118 people on Facebook didn't see that. But you can imagine it because you've got an imagination. So if you want to be the hero in your own life, what I'm about to say is something that will change everything. People don't change when you tell them what to do. You know that. I know that. Even though I've been telling Jerry what to do, there's a part of him that goes, no, I'm not doing that. The rebel in him. But his perspective changes. And when his perspective changes, he goes, I've never thought of it like that. And that's the same thing with our emotions. So check this out. Some of you have heard me say this a few times this week, but just because I've said it once or twice, have you really got the message? What are emotions? What are emotions? Do you know what they are? How many times have you heard me say it this week? And if I still say, what are emotions? Why don't you know what it is? Well, I don't know. Maybe you haven't written it down. Maybe you haven't really thought about it. What are emotions? Emotions are thoughts. Where do those thoughts start? In the limbic part of the brain. Well, so we think. This might just be a theory, because I think it's quite hard to prove all of this stuff. But the world of neuroplasticity, the science of how we think is evolving. We know now more than we've probably ever known, but we know we're infinitely more capable than we think we are. And we are a victim to our emotions, or we can use our emotions to do great things. Emotions, what are they? They are thoughts that start off in the brain. And then they go into the body in the form of, we call them sensations. Ooh, I've got a little sensation. And then we label those things feelings. I've got a feeling, ooh, that today's going to be exactly the same day as yesterday, where I allow my stress and my worry to take over. Or is today or tonight's going to be a good night? Why? Because you've learned something. You've learned that your emotions are just, what are they? They're just messages. That is all they are. And we have evolved through the need to survive. And most people probably don't realize that your fear, your worries, your doubts, your inadequacy, your feelings of overwhelmness are there to help you. There are things that come up. And where they come up from, well, they come up from maybe experiences that have happened, but it's your way of trying to help yourself, knowing what you know. And some people do what they know until they know better. And then a few, when they know better, they do better. But knowing better and doing better is where the programming comes in. It is where the time and the dedication of working on yourself. And we all know that we live in a world that is full of this plague where we are disconnected from developing ourselves. And this is why. So just think about it. Why would anyone have ever felt rejection? Why would we? How many times a day do you feel rejected? Someone doesn't say hello to you. Someone doesn't behave the way you want to. You don't get a response that you want. How many times do you have a job interview? You don't get it. Rejection, 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 rejection. Why would human beings ever want to feel rejection in the first place? It's within our encoded way that we work through the world. Why? Because when we were living in pacts, little, groups, tribes, if you felt rejection, it was a warning sign that you better think about what you're doing, because if you're not careful, you're going to get kicked out. And if you got kicked out, you'd live on your own. If you lived on your own, you'd probably die, because human beings do not do very well on their own. They just don't. We think we do. And that's why the second principle of Napoleon Hill is what? It's the mastermind alliance. It's who are you aligning yourself with? 3 people? That's not enough. You need at least 5 people, at least 5, that are resonating and vibrating with you on a similar frequency, i.e. they want to achieve similar things to you. If you don't have those people in your life, you've got them right here. Just in this Facebook community, there are people here, but you have to show up. You can't support someone who doesn't show up. There's Vespa. Vespa agrees with me. She is in 100% agreement. She leaves the room, but sometimes when I say something of big significance, she knows, even though she lives in isolation herself. So you understand that we feel regret for a reason. What about loneliness? What about hurt? What about being overwhelmed? Overwhelm is just really, in many cases, just depression. It's just nicer to say overwhelmed, because what people, I feel overwhelmed. My mind is. So what do? They go to the doctor. The doctor doesn't have the time just to sit and listen. If you listen, the person would probably feel a bit better. So he gives you a pill that says antidepressant on it. And what does that antidepressant do? It stops you from being depressed. But it doesn't, in many cases, help you be happy, be joyful. What we need to do, if we really want to take our lives to another level, is really start to see, and I really enjoyed this morning. Check this out. Look, this is what I did this morning. And I'm delighted to be able to, oh, where is it? Oh, I just finished that book. This is the new one. Check that out. Those are my notes just from this week. Now, that probably won't make any sense to you, but there's a lot of stuff I wrote down. So we talked about 5 things. So what are the 5 things? The first thing is recognizing when emotion comes up, just say, that's interesting. That is interesting. Even if it's joy, even if it's happiness, because there are certain emotions that they can be very healthy. They can help you to connect. They can help you anger, shame, resentfulness, guilt, depression, uncomfortable, inadequacy, overwhelmed, lonely, ruminating, feeling rejected. Those things can really help you. They can connect you. But if you don't take those messages, if you ignore those messages, if they come up, which was what most people do, what happens? They manifest. You push something down, it will come back up again. Rather than acknowledging, and this is why it's good to talk. And that's why some people find it useful to talk to friends or family or even a therapist. My brother's a psychotherapist. He's someone who specializes in sitting down and listening and letting people, in many cases, make sense of their own experience and what happened to them. But whatever happened to you, it doesn't have to happen right now. You don't have to let your past be your future. In many cases, it is for people because they keep going back into the past or into the future, worrying about it, which is what fear is, All fear is worried about something that hasn't happened yet. And if you can start to see these messages and start to take ownership and thinking, that's interesting. And the second step is to really become really aware that you are more than any of your emotion, and you can have any emotion you want if you really want. But you don't necessarily have to take anything. You've got it all in here to feel the emotion that you want. Does this make sense? This is very hard hitting. This is very important. This is a longer broadcast because this stuff is so, so important. If you allow yourself to receive that message, and this is the second step in becoming much more powerful, is to ask yourself two things about that emotion. Well, one is, what is the message? What is this message? What is the positive intent from this message? What is it that I really need here? Most of you know the power of questions. It's just most people ask themselves terrible questions. Why can't I do this? Why am I so stupid? Why have I not got it takes? Why doesn't this person listen to me? Rather than with emotion, just be really cool and say, what can I do about this? Is there something I could change? Could I change my perception to this? Is this fear coming out of something that I actually do have control over? See, this is where you start to take back your own power, where you decide, I'm in control here. Are you going to change your procedure, i.e. what you do with this? For example, one of the things I love the most, and again, I was writing this down this morning, that one of the biggest things, let's say, are people feeling overwhelmed? If you ever feel overwhelmed, what's one of the most powerful, what's the message? So the message is, well, what's really important? The message is you're feeling overwhelmed because there's a message going, what's really important here? So if you write down everything that's important and then you start to realize what now needs to be done, all of a sudden you're changing your state. Most of these emotions, rejections, loneliness, being uncomfortable, are often signs that we need to change our state. It's like a very powerful message. Like, whoa, what is a powerful message? But if you don't take the message, it could become toxic. And that's why people get ill and die in many cases because of disease. They've never used their emotions to fuel them to move towards being more connected to what is really important in their life. And once you get into this frame, you will experience more compassion to yourself, more joy, more kindness. You'll be calmer. You'll have more composure. You will heal your body. Does this make sense to everyone? I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do because you might experience hundreds of emotions in the day. But if you can see, I am more than my emotions. I am more than my fear. I am more than my worry. Even if you feel consumed by it, you could feel consumed by fear, and all of a sudden a giraffe appears outside with a massive purple tongue. You're not going to go, what the hell is that giraffe? Look, go away, okay? I'm just a bit frightened right now. All of a sudden, you'd snap out of it, right? You know you would. You could do it as a baby. You go, someone would take your attention away. Jerry's actually looking out there for a giraffe. There isn't one there, but that's because he, like you and me, we have an imagination. Can you not see that the time is now for us to change our state? This is someone's just written this down here. This is why I love this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That with any emotion, you can say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right now, I'm going to act on this. Now I'm going to stop for a minute. What is it that this is really telling me? Where is this coming from? What am I going to do about it? This is the greatest thing. You think, what's the greatest thing man can ever do in his life? Enjoy his life. Is it going to the moon? Yeah, well, that's great. Well, what difference has that made to my life? Someone going to the moon. Okay, maybe it's shown the fact that someone can do that someone said it wasn't possible. Or people said man would never fly. People used to say if you traveled more than 30 miles an hour, your head would explode. People used to say if Roger Bannister, if no one would ever break the 4-minute mile, it would never happen. People would explode if they ran the 4-minute mile. What did he do after he did it? 10 people had done it, I think, within a year, because he had decided to think big. Come on, I dare you. I dare all of you to dream big. It doesn't have to be a massive purpose. It could just be your purpose could be to be the best human being that you can be, to enjoy your life and realize, look, life is difficult, life is hard, life is challenging. It's always going to be that way. But what makes it that much sweeter, that much more amazing, is how we feel about ourselves. And most of us have spent a life thinking that we're not good enough. But when that feeling comes up that we're not good enough, it's just because you know that you're trying to fit into someone else's world. You're looking for approval from other people. When you start to realize it like that, you say, my perception, do I really need that? What would be a better way to move through the world? What would be a better procedure? Maybe it would be to recognize myself and appreciate myself. Listen, I promise you guys, I'm only getting warmed up here in helping and inspiring people just like you all over the world. I hope you found this week interesting. So let's look at the 5. The first thing is, that's interesting. That's the first thing. You've got to get really good. You want to change your emotional state when something comes up. So say, that's interesting. Why? Because you lessen the emotional intensity about it. That's interesting. Like, oh my God, I'm frightened, which you might say inside your head. That's interesting. I'm observing a little bit of fear. You open the door to potentially let that go away. The second thing is you just become more aware of where this might be coming from. It's not always important, but it's quite a curiosity, which is a desire to learn. The third thing is to ask yourself about, well, what can you change here? Can I change my perception to this fear? What is this fear telling me? What is the message? What is the message that's coming up? What is this telling me? What is the message? That's the fourth thing. The fifth thing is, I dare you. Pete dares you, double dares you to commit. Give it your all. Don't just dive around the swimming pool and dip your toe in. Go all in if you want to. Look back one day and say, you know what? I gave it my best. I immerse myself, because I personally know that this is the best opportunity you will ever have in your entire life to get world-class coaching for virtually nothing, plus be surrounded by a group of like-minded people. And what we're about to start in a few weeks is your opportunity to go that much deeper and go that much further and go back to the school of life, the My 365 school, where we're going to spend 12 months working on helping you graduate with honors in willpower, in mindfulness, in health, in leadership, personal leadership, breaking habits, upgrade your life. You wait till you see the masterclass that we've got coming out, a 2-month masterclass coming out in November that you can get your hands on for £20 a month. £20 a month. Think about all the subscriptions that you currently pay and how much do you use them. You can start that subscription, get on the waiting list first of all, and you can stop at any time anyway. Get on the waiting list. Stop waiting to make your life amazing and make your life amazing today. Listen, you will grow where you take these messages. You don't take them too personally. They're not right. They're not wrong. They're just messages. And this was the last thing. Look, we need to choose the meanings in life that empower us rather than assuming meanings that disempower us, right? It's time for us to get powered up. Who's with me? Who's enjoyed this week? Like this has been the best week we've ever done. Next week, we are going to look once again, but from a different perspective, the hero's journey revisited. There's a hero in you. There's a hero in you. You know it, and I know it. That's often where pain, worry, regret, doubt exist, because you're not living up to your fullest potential. And that's what Pete Cohen is here to do. Pete Cohen is here to do one thing: inspire you to be the very best that you can be. Now, how many of you look at me as your coach? You look at me and go, yeah, that's my coach. Be careful what you say, because if you look at me as your coach, don't nod your head unless you absolutely say, this guy is my coach, and you tell people he's my coach. Because if you look at me as your coach, then of course, what should you do? You should do exactly as your coach asks you to do. Not half-hearted. You either do it, and I don't care whether you do or you don't see me as your coach, but if you do, so this guy is coaching me. If you do, then do exactly as I'm asking you to do. Show up. Go all in. Take advantage of a couple more weeks if you're not elite of just this free content and giving it to you. Every day, make notes on what we're doing. Make notes. Because if you don't, whoop, bonk, is gone. That's the first thing. Second thing, what have you learned this week? What have you truly learned? If you don't take the time to review what you've learned, you'll forget it. You want to permanently etch something, write it down. Why write it down? When you write something down, it's your energy that is going into that pen or pencil, and you're writing it down. These aren't typed. This is me. This is my energy of the whole week. When I look at this week, I can feel what I did with my effort, my time. Your time and your energy is important. Use it. What have you learned this week? What have you learned? What have you learned? If you don't want to do this, you will never, ever, ever get the best of this whole experience. I promise you, I've been doing this since I was 19. And that's what my coach helped me with. I work with someone who's 50 million times of a better coach than I was. For 16 years, I worked with him, and he absolutely helped me in ways that I couldn't even explain to you. But that's another story. What have you learned? What have you achieved? And what are you going to do with this? If you don't do this, you are just paying lip service. And that's fine if you want to do that. Does this make sense? The pen is mightier than the sword. I love it. Thank you very much. So, at some point, just get it out. Just get it out. And you have a community of people here that you can share that with. You can put it out there. Do you think everyone is just helped by me? How many of you are just as inspired by other people here than you are just by me? Who we learn from each other. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. We go, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that Carmen did that. Or I didn't know. That's interesting. Or Sandra. And, oh, this is interesting. So, look, thank you very much. It's been a long broadcast today, nearly 30 minutes. But who cares? How quick has this time gone? Just seems like 5 minutes, right? Why? Because you're engaged. Get engaged with life. You don't turn to marry someone and say, let's get married. Let's just get married for 6 months. No, you commit to it, to life. Thank you. I love you all. Let's make a quick summary on here. And thank you for everyone that's watched on here. Go back and watch the beginning on Instagram and see what I did this morning. You'll laugh your pants off. Goodbye. Right. I did something I hadn't done before. That was one of my mentors there. Look. Mr. Holmbugs. Wow. Just the hair. He's one of my mentors. Are we ready? One of the greatest. Here we go. Here we go. Ready? What a week. Day 5 on emotional strength. Thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome. Join me next week for the hero's journey revisited. It's time for all of us to be the heroes in our own life. You know it makes sense. You can be a My 365 hero today. Wow. God, I'm getting good at this. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're still here. We're still here, everyone.